Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. The question is about Shaykh al-Islam. Shaykh al-Islam, what's the, how does that work? Obviously, it's become famous of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, being Shaykh al-Islam, which obviously the Salafiyah propagate, but actually the Hanabila, they called him Shaykh al-Islam, so that's not really the biggest deal. Obviously making him the Shaykh of al-Islam, as in like whatever he says goes, that's the problem really. And they continued it with saying Ibn Abdul Wahhab being Shaykh al-Islam. I mean, he was Qarn al-Shaytan, and he wasn't even a scholar. So he definitely was no Shaykh al-Islam or a Mujaddid, definitely not. Maybe tajdeed of the way of al-Khawarij and the Mujassima, the people of Bid'ah, that's probably what he did tajdeed of. But I mean, you see the scholars calling, like, Imam al-Nawawi, Shaykh al-Islam al-Nawawi, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Hajar, Shaykh al-Islam Zakaria al-Ansari. In recent times, like Shaykh al-Islam al-Kawthari. It's not really a big deal. I mean, no doubt. I mean, their knowledge transcended even their madhahib, and they were well known. Saying it or not saying it doesn't necessarily make a scholar better or lesser. Like if I mean, for the Maliki, we have a lot of great Malikis. You generally don't hear Shaykh al-Islam next to. They might have other titles like al-Imam or al-Shaykh or al-Hafidh, for example. There's different titles, but just because you don't put Shaykh al-Islam doesn't necessarily mean that he wasn't Shaykh al-Islam. And if you do put Shaykh al-Islam, doesn't necessarily make him more knowledgeable or better than others. The big thing from our perspective is that we just kind of reject the way of the Salafiyah and the Wahabiyah, where they made pretty much one Shaykh al-Islam, and they take everything that he says or does. For our purposes, I mean, we have many Shuyukh al-Islam. It's not, depending how you want to use it, it's not really a big deal. Like Shaykh al-Islam al-Nawawi, I mean, no one is going to debate that he was Shaykh al-Islam. These great scholars. But again, our problem is just making it one main Shaykh al-Islam, and everyone else was wrong and he was right. That's never existed in our tradition. And it, of course, even becomes more specific when you want to follow your own madhab, for example, in your school of fiqh and school of Aqeedah, for example. And then in tasawwuf, of course, you want to follow, your shaykh, for example, if you are on the way of suluk. So, yes, that's kind of the main thing that we want to refute at the moment. Just the way the Salafiyah made this title. And then they'll say it like in a loud voice, Shaykh al-Islam, right? And it's like, like they somehow ended the argument or something because they quoted Shaykh al-Islam. And of course, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah actually will quote, relate things from the Salaf according to him and get it wrong and go against ijma' many times, right? But because Shaykh al-Islam according to them said it, then it doesn't really matter, which is a big problem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.